In this presentation, we will take a look at multiple choice questions related to governmental accounting, going through those questions and then practicing test-taking skills with them. First question, transaction of billing utility customers for an enterprise fund includes either A debit to interfund transfer in, B, a debit to sales, C, a debit to customer accounts receivable, or D, a debit to billings to customers. Let's go through this again using the process of elimination. Transaction of billing utility customers for an enterprise fund includes what? So if we think about the utilities customers, we're thinking, what type of fund are we? We might want to start there. It says right here we're an enterprise fund. Enterprise fund, what category does that fall into? Governmental, proprietary, or fiduciary? It's going to be one of the proprietary type funds acting in a similar fashion as a for-profit type of organization, and it has customers outside of the fund as opposed to internal government customers to it. So utilities is going to be one of the most common examples of the enterprise fund. So then if we were going to have the billings, you would think, well, a normal billings for a normal type of operation, if we were going to bill, customers in a for-profit type of organization, we would think that we have something like accounts receivable, an AR-like account, if not AR, because this is going to be an account that's very similar because it's an enterprise fund, which has customers outside and acts like a proprietor. And then the other side you would think on a for-profit would be sales. So you want to write down the journal entry that you would kind of assume, get the debits and credits going the right way, and then think about the answer. And we're going to say A says a debit to the interfund transfer in. And it's not an interfund thing because the customers are outside. We're talking about outside people. There's no interfund activity happening. B says a debit to sales. Now, we might have sales, seems reasonable because it's an enterprise fund, but that's a revenue account, and revenue goes up with a credit, just a normal for-profit accounting, so it's going the wrong way. C says a debit to customer accounts receivable, and that's kind of what we would expect if some type of accounts receivable going up because we billed people. So that seems reasonable. D says a debit to billings to customers. So, and again, that one, you might say, that kind of might sound like an accounts receivable type of account, but that one's really kind of more of a revenue type of account, and the revenue type of account would be a credit. So it looks like the final answer is C. Transaction of billing utility customers for an enterprise fund includes C, a debit to customer accounts receivable. Next question, which would not be accounted for by an enterprise fund? Either A, public golf course, B, public airport, C, data processing department, or C, a sports stadium. Let's go through this again using the process of elimination. Which would not be accounted for by an enterprise fund? So let's just think about enterprise. What is an enterprise fund again? Well, there's three types of funds. There's going to be the governmental type fund. That's the largest group. There's the proprietary type funds, fiduciary type funds, enterprise fund, proprietary type fund, because it's going to run in a similar fashion as a for-profit in that it typically has customers. Two types of proprietary funds, enterprise fund and internal service fund. Enterprise fund, we're looking for the customers to be outside of the government. Key factor then. So which one of these look like a business? Which one of these run like a business? Which one of these have the customers outside of the government? That would be the enterprise fund, and we're looking for not. So we're looking for which one has the customers possibly that are inside or is not a proprietary fund. So the public golf course, if it was a public golf course, you would think the customers would be outside. So if it's a government-run golf course, then unless the only person they can go on the golf course and pay for golf would be a government employee, which typically you wouldn't think that would be the case, then that would be an enterprise fund running that one. So that's not it. Then the public airport, and again, it's a public airport, so it's not just government employees flying out of that airport. So that's going to be an enterprise fund, you would think. And C says data processing department. Data processing department, the fact that it's a department means that you would think it would be internal in some way, and if it was run by any proprietary fund, then probably not the enterprise fund, but some type of internal service fund. So I would think C sounds somewhat reasonable. D says a sports stadium, and clearly you don't usually make a sports stadium just for internal governmental employees. Like most of the people in the sports stadium are probably outside of the government. So you would think that would be an enterprise fund. So final answer seems C, which would not be accounted for by an enterprise fund? C. Data processing department.